Story of the Buddha continued. Upatissa and Kolita become disciples. During the Buddha's stay near Rajagaha, there was a well-known teacher of one of the traditional schools. He had about 200 students, and among them were Upatissa and Kolita. These two students were best friends. They wanted to learn more about life and death than their teacher had been able to teach them. So they agreed with each other that they would search for the highest knowledge, and as soon as one of them found it, he would share it with the other. One morning, Upatissa was walking towards Rajagaha. On the way there, he met a monk who looked very peaceful and seemed to be free from all fear. This monk was the arahant Asazi, one of the 5 former ascetics. Upatissa went towards him and said, "Venerable Master, who is your teacher and what did he teach you?" The monk replied with a smile, "My teacher is a great sage of the Sakya clan. He is the Buddha, and I practice according to his teaching." Then Upatissa asked Venerable Asazi, "What is the teaching of the Buddha?" Asazi replied, "I will tell you the meaning of the Buddha's teaching very briefly. The Buddha said that there is a cause for everything, and he also taught how things decay." Upatissa was so clever that when he heard this, he understood that whatever comes into existence will also decay, and he attained the first stage of enlightenment. Then he thanked Asazi, asked him where he might find the Buddha, and left. After this encounter, Upatissa was filled with happiness and went straight to see Kolita. He told Kolita what the noble monk Asazi had told him. Instantly, Kolita also understood the Buddha's teaching and attained the first stage of enlightenment. Finally, the two friends went to see the Buddha. They asked him to accept them as monks, and the Buddha agreed. After practicing diligently, they both attained arahantship. Later, they became the Buddha's chief disciples and were known under their monks' names as Sariputta and Mangalana. When the Buddha was living at Rajagaha, a conference was held at Veluvana on the full moon of the 3rd month of the year. 1,250 monks attended the meeting. They were all arahants, and all of them arrived on the same day. On this special occasion, the Buddha told his disciples to practice and teach following the same basic principles. The essence of this teaching was, do not do anything bad, do good and purify your mind. Returning to Kapilavatthu. When King Suddhodana learned that his son had become a Buddha and was staying at Rajagaha, he sent an officer to invite the Buddha to Kapilavatthu. The Buddha promised to visit his family. So one day, the Buddha took his disciples to Kapilavatthu. They arrived in the evening and stayed in a garden outside the city. The next morning, the Buddha and his disciples went to the city to ask for alms food. When the king found out that the prince was asking for food, he felt very angry and disappointed. He told his driver to take him straight to the Buddha. When he saw the Buddha, he spoke to him in an angry way. "My son, today you have done a most disgraceful thing to the royal family and me. Have your ancestors ever done such a thing? Have they ever accepted food like beggars?" The Buddha spoke calmly to his angry father. "Father, I am not following the custom of my worldly ancestors. I am following the tradition of the Buddhas of the past. All past Buddhas asked for food. to inspire people to follow the teachings. Then, the Buddha explained some basics of the Dharma to the king. The king calmed down and asked the Buddha and his disciples to accept food at the palace. In the palace, after finishing a delicious meal, the Buddha taught the Dharma to the king, his relatives, and other people. Then he took 2 of his senior disciples to see Yasodhara, the cousin he had married at the age of 16, and Rahula, his son. Yasodhara was very sad. The Buddha could see past lives, and he compassionately told her about the good actions she had done in the past and explained the Dharma to her. Later, Rahula, who was 7 years old, was ordained by the Buddha and became the first novice in the Buddhist tradition. A novice is someone who is in training but has not yet taken the full vows of a monk or nun. Besides Rahula, the Buddha also converted his stepbrother Nanda and several princes of the Sakya clan. Among them were his cousins Ananda and Devadatta. Many years after he left Kapilavatthu, the Buddha went back to visit his father, King Suddhodana, who was very ill. The king was very happy to see that the Buddha again and felt better. But because he was very old, he could no longer resist the illness, and 2 or 3 days later, he passed away. Everyone felt deeply sad. The first nun. When King Suddhodana died, Lady Prajapati Gotami felt very sad. She and several other women decided to leave the worldly life and join the Buddha's group of monks to practice the Dharma. So she led the women to see the Buddha. She asked him to accept them as nuns, but the Buddha refused. The women felt very disappointed and cried, but they did not give up their wishes to become nuns. When the Buddha was residing at the Mahavaha monastery, Lady Prajapati Gotami and her group of women went to the monastery and told Ananda what had happened. Ananda felt compassion for them and promised to help them. He went to see the Buddha to ask him to be merciful and let the woman join the monastic order. But the Buddha refused again. Ananda then said, "I beg you, Lord Buddha, please do a favor to Prajapati Gotami and accept her and other women as nuns, because she has done you great favor in the past. She brought you up as her own son." Finally, the Buddha said, "All right, if they are willing to follow the 8 monastic rules I give them, they can leave home and become nuns." Then he explained these rules to Ananda. After leaving, the Buddha Ananda went to tell Lady Prajapati Gotami the good news. All the women were very happy and promised to observe the 8 rules of conduct that the Buddha gave them. Ananda then went back to the Buddha and told him that the women were very happy to follow the rules. So, Prajapati Gotami became the first Buddhist nun.